A man said in Kenneth Hagin's teaching on it many years ago, he said, I started with $500 by listening to the voice of my spirit. He said, my company is now worth $50 million. He said, and I'm now in my biggest, I was listening to this 3 years ago, negotiation for $100 million. I listened to what God was telling me in everything that I did. Personal, use it personally there. Let me tell you this. You don't just go and start prophesying to people if they don't answer. Look, people need to understand divine protocol. There was a time Kenneth Copeland, so people understand. He said he was preaching. He went to a city and there was a guy who used to preach in Aero there. And when he got there, one other pastor that was there came to meet him and said, I hope you are going to address this particular thing that this man is saying, all right, about it. And Kenneth Copeland told him, he said, listen, he said, let me just tell you something. He said, listen carefully to what I'm saying. Even if God wanted me to address it, by what you have said, you have contaminated it. I'm not going to speak on that matter again. Reverend Scott Webb, the first time he came in, this is the pulpit he preached. After he left, we were going. Pastor Reverend Matt Beeman said, you ride with Pastor Scott Webb so you can discuss. He kept telling me, he said, I've seen you somewhere. I said, Copeland's meeting. He said, yes, I knew I saw you somewhere. He sat in the car. First thing he told me as we turned here, he said, and I didn't know he was going through some real serious issues in his ministry at that time. And he said, you know what, Brother Copeland called me some days back. Now, I want you to understand that the first jet that Scott Webb ever had, he sold it into Copeland Ministry. I'm just trying to tell you how close, and this was in the 70s, all right, or 80s. He sold a jet into you to show how close they were, all right? And he said, Brother Copeland called me. This is what he said. He said, Reverend Scott said, yes, I received a word from the Lord concerning you this morning in prayer. Do I have your permission to give it to you? This is what Copeland said. Do I have your permission to give it to you? This is how we were raised, though. There is divine protocol. All right? He said, do I have, he told me as well, he said, do I have your authority? He said, yes, Brother Copeland, speak on. He said, and then he gave it. All right? So that's why people, it was when I got to Bishop Butler Church that I saw after worship, people just go into tongues and interpretation. I was looking, hey, you people do this thing here. And confusion has not started. Until we entered his office and he said, when there's an interpretation of tongues, it is only an ordained minister in the congregation. When there's a tongues that comes out, it's only an ordained minister in the congregation that can give interpretation. If nobody gets interpretation, everybody stays quiet. Because if you are not careful, even with as we are with the way people are now, they will plan tongues and interpretation before they come for meeting. I'm just trying to explain to you why people, you'll be wondering that why people don't teach some things is because of abuse. All right? Now, what we're saying is that use it in your own personal life. Okay? What you believe somebody else to do, if you receive it. I'm not saying God cannot talk to you. If God talks to you, I'm not saying that God cannot talk to you about a church you come to. If God talks to you about the church, go to God in prayer and tell God, talk to the leadership. Okay, you've revealed this to me, talk to them about it. If you want me to talk about it, then you open the door for that particular thing. What you are going to see if God does do it is that you may just be sitting there, you are outside, and I will just walk up to you and say, hey, how are you? What do you do for this? What's happening to you? So what's happening? Hey, how long have you been in this church? And then you will know that because I've never come to meet you before in my life. I've never talked. Are you following what I'm saying? You will know that this is God. All right? And then the situation opens. There's a way God can arrange things. You see, anywhere you are trying to force your will on other people is not God. Let me repeat what I'm saying. Anytime you are trying to use the force of will on somebody, and you go and meet somebody and say, God told me that you are supposed to be the one, and you are the one to marry me. Listen to what I'm saying to you. If God tells you, because I don't want people to miss this thing. If God tells you you are to marry somebody, God will tell that person too that they are supposed to marry you. Look at the Bible. When Elijah was going to go and meet the widow of Zarephath, what did he tell him? He said, I have commanded her to. Do you know what he said? It means he spoke to her too. When Cornelius got it, that sent for one Simon Barjona, he will tell the words. Before the messengers got there, God spoke to Simon. Are you following what I'm saying? Or else you start controlling Peter's ministry now. You just go there and say, God told me, God told me, God told me. And then everybody will say, God told me, God told me. Which one? So what do we do? Are you following what I'm saying? So please use this in your life so that it's not suspicion. That's where I'm going. You perceive. Try it first. When you hear God for yourself first. Test it. Let's see whether it works. You understand what I'm saying?